I yelled at a billionaire for my best friend. Then he thanked me for being honest. Before we begin, drop a comment below with the city you're watching from. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. You know what? Money doesn't give you the right to treat people like they're invisible. Picture this: a fancy restaurant, crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, tables covered in white cloth, rich people eating expensive food. And there, in the middle of all that luxury, stands a 28-year-old woman named Maya. She's wearing simple clothes, nothing fancy. Her hands are shaking. Her voice is shaking. But she's pointing her finger at one of the richest men in the city. My best friend gave you everything, and you threw her away like she was nothing. The man she's yelling at? His name is Richard Sterling. He's 55 years old, a billionaire. He's sitting there in his expensive suit, perfectly calm, not saying a word, just listening. The waiters have stopped moving. Other people at nearby tables are staring. Some have their phones out. Everyone wants to know what's happening. Maya's eyes are filling up with tears. Not sad tears, angry tears. The kind of tears that come when your heart is breaking for someone you love. Sarah believed in you when nobody else did. And this is how you repay her? Now, you're probably wondering who Sarah is. Why is Maya so angry? And what did this billionaire do that was so terrible? Well, to understand that, we need to go back. Back to 2 weeks before this moment. Back to when everything was still okay. 2 weeks earlier, Maya Chun was living her normal life. She worked at a coffee shop downtown. The kind where you make lattes and smile at customers even when you're tired. Maya had dreams of becoming a teacher one day. She wanted to help kids learn and grow. But right now, she was just trying to pay rent and get through each day. Maya had something special about her, though. She had the kindest heart you could imagine. The type of person who would give you her last dollar if you needed it more than she did. And her best friend? Her name was Sarah Mitchell. Sarah and Maya had been friends since they were kids. They grew up together, shared secrets together, cried together, laughed together. They were more than friends. They were like sisters. Sarah was different from Maya in some ways. She was quiet, really shy, the kind of person who would rather hide in a corner than stand in a spotlight. But Sarah had a gift. She could paint. And I don't mean she was just okay at painting. Sarah was incredibly talented. When she picked up a paintbrush, magic happened on the canvas. The two of them shared a tiny apartment together. And when I say tiny, I mean tiny. One bedroom that they split. A kitchen so small only one person could stand in it at a time. But it was theirs. And they loved it because they had each other. One evening, they were sitting on their old couch. There were pizza boxes on the coffee table. The kind of night where you just relax and talk about everything and nothing. Sarah had her sketchbook out. She was always drawing or painting something. Maya looked over at the page and her eyes went wide. "Sarah, your paintings are amazing. You should show them to more people." But Sarah just shook her head. She looked down at her hands. "Who'd want to see my work? I'm nobody." Maya's face got serious. She put down her slice of pizza and turned to look right at her best friend. "Stop saying that. You're the most talented person I know." This was how their friendship worked. Sarah would doubt herself and Maya would build her back up. Every single time. Maya believed in Sarah more than Sarah believed in herself. Their friendship wasn't just about big moments, though. It was the little things. Like when Maya caught a cold last winter. She was so sick she couldn't get out of bed. Sarah made her soup from scratch. Brought it to her with crackers and juice. Sat with her and watched movies until Maya fell asleep. Sarah didn't have to do that. But that's what best friends do. Or the time they were at the art supply store. Sarah was looking at paintbrushes, trying to find ones she could afford. A customer bumped into her and knocked some paint tubes off the shelf. The customer started yelling at Sarah, saying she was clumsy and careless. Sarah just froze. She didn't know what to say. But Maya stepped right in front of her friend. It was an accident. She didn't do anything wrong. "Maybe watch where you're going next time." The customer huffed and walked away. Sarah's hands were shaking. Maya squeezed her hand and smiled. "I've got your back. Always." And she meant it. They had each other's backs through everything. Late at night, when they couldn't sleep, they'd sit on their couch and talk about their dreams. Sarah would talk about maybe having her own art show one day. Maya would talk about her own classroom full of students. They'd encourage each other, push each other, remind each other that their dreams were possible. They weren't just friends. They were each other's biggest cheerleaders, each other's safe place, each other's family. If Sarah needed something, Maya would move mountains to get it for her, and Sarah would do the same for Maya. So when something happened to Sarah, something that broke her heart into a million pieces, Maya couldn't just stand by and watch. She had to do something. She had to fight for her best friend. Even if that meant confronting a billionaire in a fancy restaurant. Even if that meant yelling at one of the most powerful men in the city. Because that's what real friendship looks like. It's not just laughing together when things are good. It's standing up for each other when things get bad. It's being brave when your friend can't be brave for themselves. Now, before we get to what happened next, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had a friend like Maya? Someone who would stand up for you no matter what? Or maybe you've been that friend for someone else. Drop a comment below and tell me about a time you stood up for a friend or they stood up for you. I'd love to hear your stories. And if you're enjoying this story so far, hit that subscribe button. Because what happens next is going to blow your mind. Trust me, you don't want to miss how this all unfolds. So what happened to Sarah that made Maya so angry? What did Richard Sterling do? Well, that story starts 3 months before that restaurant scene. And it starts with hope. With a dream coming true. With Sarah finally believing that maybe, just maybe, she really was talented after all. But dreams can turn into nightmares real quick. And that's exactly what happened to Sarah. Let me take you back even further. 3 months before that restaurant scene. 3 months before Maya stood up and yelled at a billionaire. Back to the day that changed everything for Sarah. It was open submission day at a small art gallery downtown. You know those days where anyone can bring their artwork and show it to people? Sarah had been too scared to go for years. But Maya kept pushing her. Kept telling her she had to try. So finally, Sarah worked up the courage. She walked into that gallery holding her painting so tight her knuckles were white. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was beating so fast she thought everyone could hear it. She found a spot on the wall and hung up her painting. It was beautiful. A piece about hope. About light breaking through darkness. About believing that good things can happen even when life feels hard. Sarah stood there waiting, watching people walk by. Some people stopped and looked. Some people just kept walking. And with every person who passed by without saying anything, Sarah felt smaller and smaller. She was about to take her painting down and leave when someone stopped right in front of it. A man, dressed casually, jeans and a simple button-up shirt. Nothing fancy. He stood there for a long time, just staring at Sarah's painting. Not moving, not saying anything. Sarah didn't know what to do. Should she say something? Should she walk away? Then the man turned to her. "This is extraordinary. Who are you?" Sarah's mouth went dry. She could barely get the words out. I'm nobody. Just Sarah." The man smiled. A real smile. The kind that reaches your eyes. "I'm Richard. And you're definitely somebody." Sarah didn't know what to say to that. She just stood there, confused. Who was this guy? Why was he being so nice? Then Richard explained. He wasn't just some random person. He was Richard Sterling, a major art collector, a businessman who had helped launch the careers of dozens of famous artists. He knew everyone in the art world. He had connections everywhere. And he was standing there, looking at Sarah's painting like it was the most amazing thing he'd ever seen. "Your work has something special, something real. I'd like to help you, mentor you, help build your career." Sarah thought she was dreaming. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. But it was real. Richard gave her his card, told her to call him, said he saw something in her work that reminded him why he fell in love with art in the first place. Sarah practically ran home. She burst through the apartment door, out of breath, eyes wide with excitement. Maya was making dinner in their tiny kitchen. "Maya, you're not going to believe what just happened." Sarah told her everything. About Richard, about what he said, about the offer to mentor her. Maya screamed, actually screamed with joy. She grabbed Sarah's hands and they jumped up and down like little kids. Sarah, this is it. Your dreams are coming true. And for the first time in her life, Sarah actually believed it. Maybe her dreams really could come true. The next 2 months were like a fairy tale. Richard was true to his word. He gave Sarah access to an actual art studio, not their cramped apartment. A real studio with good lighting and space to work. He bought her supplies, professional paints, quality canvases, brushes that didn't fall apart after 2 uses. Sarah worked harder than she'd ever worked in her life. She'd paint from morning until night. Sometimes Maya would bring her food because Sarah would forget to eat. She was so focused, so driven. And you know what? Her paintings got even better. Each one more beautiful than the last. But it wasn't just about the materials. Richard introduced Sarah to people. Important people. Gallery owners who could give her shows. Art critics who could write about her work. Collectors who could buy her paintings. Doors that had been locked her entire life were suddenly opening. And Sarah? She was glowing. That shy, quiet girl who used to hide in corners? She was standing taller. Smiling more. Actually believing in herself for the first time ever. Maya watched her best friend transform into the person she always knew Sarah could be. One night, Sarah came home so excited she could barely stand still. He believes in me, Maya. Someone actually believes in me. Maya hugged her tight. I've always believed in you, but I'm so glad you're finally believing in yourself. Everything seemed perfect. Richard announced that Sarah would have her first small exhibition. Just a few of her pieces, but in a real gallery, with real art lovers coming to see her work. Sarah's name would be on the wall. Her dream was actually happening. Maya helped Sarah pick out which paintings to show. They stayed up late, talking about what Sarah would wear, what she would say if people asked her about her art. They were so happy, so excited, so full of hope. But then, 1 week ago, everything fell apart. Maya was at work, making coffee for customers, when her phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Just 3 words. Coming home now. Something about those words felt wrong. Maya's stomach dropped. She asked her manager if she could leave early. Practically ran home. When she opened the apartment door, she found Sarah on the couch, crying. Not just crying. Sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. What happened? The exhibition is tomorrow. Sarah couldn't even speak at first. She just handed Maya her phone. There was an email pulled up. From Richard Sterling. Maya read it. It was short. So short it felt cruel. I've decided to pursue other artists. Best of luck. RS. That was it. No explanation. No sorry. No nothing. Just those 2 cold sentences. What? Why? Did something happen? Sarah shook her head. Her voice came out broken, barely a whisper. I don't know. I thought he cared about my work. About me. Maya read the email again. And again. Trying to understand. This didn't make sense. Everything was going so well. The exhibition was literally the next day. How could he just cancel everything? How could he just drop Sarah like she meant nothing? I don't understand. Did you call him? Did you ask him what's going on? Sarah nodded. He won't answer. His assistant said he's unavailable. The gallery called too. They said the exhibition is canceled. All of it. Just gone. Maya watched her best friend fall apart right in front of her eyes. Sarah stopped eating. She'd just sit on the couch, staring at nothing. She didn't paint, didn't draw, didn't even look at her art supplies. It was like something inside her had broken. For a week, Maya tried everything. She made Sarah's favorite foods, tried to get her to talk, tried to get her to leave the apartment. But Sarah had gone back into her shell, deeper than before, because this time it wasn't just about being shy or scared. This time, someone had made her believe she was special, and then took it all away. Maya would hear Sarah crying at night, quiet sobs that she tried to hide. And every time Maya heard those sobs, the anger inside her grew. This wasn't right. This wasn't fair. You don't do this to people. You don't lift someone up just to drop them. You don't give someone hope and then crush it with a 2-sentence email. Sarah kept saying the same thing over and over. I knew it was too good to be true. I'm not talented. I was stupid to believe him. I'm nobody. I've always been nobody. And that broke Maya's heart more than anything else. Because Sarah wasn't nobody. Sarah was incredible. And some billionaire had made her forget that. Maya's anger wasn't just anger anymore. It was rage. The kind of rage that comes from watching someone you love get hurt. The kind that makes you want to do something. Anything. To make it right. This isn't right. He can't just do this. Maya made a decision right then. She wasn't going to let this go. She wasn't going to watch her best friend suffer while the man who caused it went on with his perfect life. Someone needed to tell Richard Sterling the truth. Someone needed to make him understand what he'd done. And if no one else would do it, then Maya would. Maya couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't watch her best friend waste away on their couch. Couldn't watch Sarah cry herself to sleep every night. Couldn't listen to Sarah call herself nobody one more time. Something had to be done. So Maya did what any good friend would do. She started digging. She pulled out her laptop and started researching Richard Sterling. Who was this man? Where did he go? What did he do? There had to be a way to reach him. A way to make him listen. She scrolled through news articles, social media posts, business announcements, and then she found it. Tonight, right now actually, Richard Sterling was attending a charity dinner at one of the fanciest restaurants in the city. The kind of place where a single meal costs more than Maya's rent. Maya stood up from the couch. Sarah was in the bedroom, probably staring at the ceiling like she'd been doing for days. I'm going to get answers. Sarah appeared in the doorway. Her eyes were red from crying. Her voice came out weak and tired. Maya, don't. He's a billionaire. We're nobody to him. Maya walked over to her best friend, looked her right in the eyes. You're not nobody. Not to me. And somebody needs to tell him the truth. Sarah tried to argue, but Maya was already moving. She went to Sarah's closet and borrowed the nicest outfit Sarah owned. A simple black dress. Nothing fancy, but better than Maya's coffee shop uniform. Her hands were shaking as she got dressed. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, practicing what she'd say. How do you talk to a billionaire? How do you make someone like that understand what they'd done to a regular person? Maya didn't know, but she was going to try. The determination in her eyes was fierce. She was scared, terrified actually, but she was doing this. For Sarah, the restaurant was exactly as fancy as Maya expected, maybe even fancier. Marble floors, gold accents everywhere, people in designer clothes walking around like they owned the world. Maya felt completely out of place, like everyone could tell she didn't belong there. She walked up to the host stand. A man in a perfect suit looked at her with a polite smile. Name please? Maya's mind raced. She hadn't thought this through. She didn't have a reservation. She wasn't invited. But she'd come this far. She couldn't turn back now. I'm with the Sterling party. The lie came out smoother than she expected. The host looked down at his list. Maya held her breath. This was it. He was going to catch her, call security, throw her out. But then he nodded and gestured inside. Right this way. Maya couldn't believe it worked. She followed the host through the restaurant, her heart beating so fast she thought she might pass out. Rich people sat at tables eating food that looked more like art than dinner. Crystal glasses clinked. Soft music played. Everything was perfect and beautiful and expensive. And then she saw him, Richard Sterling, sitting at a private table in the back. He was surrounded by important-looking people in suits. They were laughing about something, drinking wine, acting like they didn't have a care in the world. While Sarah was at home, broken and crying, this man was here having the time of his life. Maya's courage almost failed her. What was she doing? These weren't her people. This wasn't her world. She was just a coffee shop worker. Who was she to confront a billionaire? But then she remembered. She remembered Sarah's tears. The way Sarah wouldn't eat, wouldn't paint. The way Sarah kept saying she was nobody. The way all the light had gone out of her best friend's eyes. Maya took a deep breath. and she walked straight toward that table. Her legs felt like jelly. Her hands were shaking, but she kept walking, one foot in front of the other, closer and closer. Richard looked up, probably wondering why someone was walking toward his private table. His face showed surprise. "Can I help you?" His voice was calm, polite, like Maya was just another person asking for directions. That made her even angrier. "Yes, you can explain why you destroyed my best friend." The words came out sharp, loud enough that people at nearby tables turned to look. Richard's associates stopped talking. Their mouths literally dropped open. Who was this girl? How dare she speak to Richard Sterling like that? Richard's expression changed, confused now. "I'm sorry. Do I know you?" Maya's hands clenched into fists. "No, but you know Sarah Mitchell, the artist you mentored for months and then abandoned with a 2-sentence email." Recognition flashed across Richard's face. And something else. Discomfort. He shifted in his seat. Suddenly he didn't look so calm anymore. Maya's voice got louder. All the anger and hurt she'd been holding in for a week came pouring out. "She trusted you. She believed in you. Do you have any idea what you did to her?" One of Richard's associates, a woman in an expensive pantsuit, stood up. Security, but Richard held up his hand, stopped her mid-sentence. "No, let her speak." Everyone at the table went quiet. Richard was staring at Maya now, really looking at her, waiting. Maya felt tears forming in her eyes, but she wasn't going to stop. Not now. Sarah hasn't painted in a week. She barely eats. She thinks she's worthless now. All because you made her believe she mattered and then threw her away. Her voice cracked on those last words. The tears were coming whether she wanted them to or not. But they weren't sad tears. They were angry tears, frustrated tears, the kind of tears that come when you're fighting for someone you love. The entire restaurant seemed to have gone quiet. Or maybe Maya just couldn't hear anything except her own heartbeat. She stood there, staring at this billionaire. This man who probably didn't even remember Sarah's name. This man who had crushed her best friend's dreams like they were nothing. And she waited to see what he would say, waited to see if any of this would matter, waited to find out if standing up for Sarah would make any difference at all. Richard stared at Maya. For a long moment he didn't say anything, just looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. And then something changed in his face. That calm mask he'd been wearing, it started to crack. "Please, sit down." His voice was quiet, gentle even. Maya shook her head. "I don't want to sit. Please, you deserve to know the truth." Something about the way he said it made Maya stop. She crossed her arms, still angry, still defensive. But she sat down in the empty chair across from him. Richard turned to his associates, the people in expensive suits who were still staring at this whole scene with their mouths open. "Give us a moment." They hesitated, like they weren't sure they should leave their important friend alone with this angry girl. But Richard gave them a look, and they gathered their things and left. Now it was just Maya and Richard, sitting across from each other in this fancy restaurant. Richard looked different suddenly, tired, older, like whatever he was about to say was weighing him down. "I didn't abandon Sarah because of her art. Her work is brilliant." Maya's anger flared up again. "Then why?" Richard took a deep breath. The kind of breath you take before you say something you've been holding inside for a long time. "Because I was scared." That was not the answer Maya expected. Scared? A billionaire? Scared of what? Richard's hands were clasped together on the table. His voice got quieter. 20 years ago, I mentored a young artist. His name was Daniel. He was like a son to me. Maya could hear something in his voice now, something that sounded like pain, like regret. She stayed quiet, listening. I pushed him too hard, too fast. Big exhibitions, important critics, enormous pressure. I thought I was helping him, thought I was giving him opportunities, but really I was drowning him. Richard's voice was shaking slightly now. He couldn't handle it. The stress, the expectations, everyone watching him, waiting for him to be great, waiting for him to fail. He had a breakdown, a complete breakdown. Maya's anger was starting to soften, just a little. She could see real pain in this man's eyes. Daniel never painted again. Not once. He blamed me, and he was right to. I destroyed something beautiful because I was so excited about his talent that I forgot he was just a human being. A young man who needed support, not pressure. The restaurant noise faded into the background. Maya was focused completely on Richard's words. When I saw Sarah's work, her pure talent, I wanted to help. I really did. I thought maybe I could do it right this time. Be better. Be more careful. He paused, looked down at his hands. But then I started seeing the same pattern. The stress in her eyes. The way she was pushing herself too hard to please me. She'd work until midnight. Skip meals. I'd suggest she take a break and she'd look at me like I was disappointed in her. Maya remembered. Sarah coming home exhausted. Sarah saying she had to finish just one more painting. Sarah so worried about making Richard proud. I saw Sarah 3 weeks ago, and she looked exhausted, anxious, dark circles under her eyes. And I realized I was doing it again. Even though I was trying so hard not to, I was putting the same pressure on her that I put on Daniel. Richard looked up at Maya. I thought, if I stepped away she could breathe, find her own path without my shadow hanging over her, without feeling like she had to be perfect for me. Maya sat back in her chair. Her mind was spinning. This whole time she thought Richard was cruel, heartless, but he was trying to protect Sarah? So you pushed her away to protect her? Her voice was softer now, not angry anymore, just confused. I know how it sounds, cowardly, but after Daniel, I couldn't risk destroying another artist's spirit. I couldn't watch it happen again. Maya shook her head. But you did destroy her spirit, just in a different way. Richard looked down. His shoulders slumped. I know. I handled it terribly. I thought a clean break would be easier. That if I just disappeared, she could move on, find her own way. But I see now that I was just running away from my own fear. Maya leaned forward. She didn't need you to make decisions for her. She needed you to be honest. Richard nodded slowly. You're right. You're absolutely right. They sat in silence for a moment. Maya's mind was working through everything she'd just heard. All this time, Richard wasn't the villain she thought he was. He wasn't some heartless billionaire who didn't care about people. He was someone who cared too much. Someone haunted by a mistake he made 20 years ago. Someone so afraid of hurting Sarah that he hurt her anyway. Finally, Maya spoke again. Her voice was gentle now. You really care about her work, don't you? Richard looked up. And for the first time since this conversation started, he smiled. Just a little. I think she's the most talented artist I've seen in 20 years. And I was afraid my involvement would ruin that. I was afraid I'd turn something pure and beautiful into something stressful and painful. I was afraid I'd take away her love of art the same way I took it away from Daniel. Maya understood now. She understood everything. Richard wasn't evil. He wasn't cruel. He was just human. Just someone who made a terrible mistake a long time ago and was so scared of making it again that he made a different mistake instead. But understanding didn't fix what happened to Sarah. Understanding didn't bring back her confidence or her joy or her belief in herself. Maya took a deep breath. Sarah thinks she failed. She thinks her art wasn't good enough. She thinks she's nobody. And that's on you. Because instead of talking to her, instead of being honest, you just disappeared. Richard nodded. He looked like he might cry. I know. And I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to make this right. For the first time since she walked into this restaurant, Maya felt something other than anger. She felt something like hope. Because maybe, just maybe, there was a way to fix this after all. Maya looked at Richard. This man who had seemed so powerful and untouchable just minutes ago. Now he just looked like someone who desperately wanted to make things right. What can I do? How do I fix this? Maya thought for a moment. It was actually simple. The truth. Just tell her the truth. All of it. Richard's face showed worry. Will she even want to see me? Maya was honest. I don't know. But she deserves to know she didn't fail. That you were the one who was scared. Not her. Richard nodded slowly. He looked at Maya with something like respect. You're a good friend. Sarah's lucky to have you. Maya smiled a little. She's my person. I'd do anything for her. Richard's expression got sad again. That's exactly the kind of loyalty I lost with Daniel. Don't ever lose that. Maya pulled out her phone. Her heart was pounding again. But this time it was different. This time it wasn't anger. It was hope. Come with me. Now, before I change my mind about you. Richard stood up immediately. He left money on the table and followed Maya out of that fancy restaurant. They got into his car. The drive to Maya and Sarah's apartment felt both too long and too short. Maya's mind was racing. What if Sarah refused to listen? What if seeing Richard just made everything worse? But she had to try. She had to give her best friend the truth. They pulled up to the tiny apartment building. It looked even smaller next to Richard's expensive car. Maya led him up the stairs. Her hands were shaking as she unlocked the door. Sarah was on the couch, still in the same spot she'd been in for days. She looked up when the door opened, and her face went from confused to shocked in about 2 seconds flat. Maya? What's going on? Why is he? Richard stepped forward. His voice was gentle. Sarah, I owe you the biggest apology of my life. Sarah stood up. She looked like she might run. Or cry. Or both. Richard started talking. He told her everything. About Daniel. About the breakdown 20 years ago. About the guilt he'd carried every single day since then. About seeing that same exhaustion in Sarah's eyes 3 weeks ago. About being so scared of destroying another talented artist that he ran away instead of facing his fear. Sarah just stood there listening. Tears streaming down her face. Not saying a word. Just listening. You didn't fail. I failed you. I was so afraid of pushing you too hard that I hurt you anyway. Sarah's voice came out broken. I thought my art wasn't good enough. Richard shook his head. Your art is extraordinary. You are extraordinary. And you don't need me to prove that. Sarah wiped her eyes. But I do need honesty. I needed to know the truth. Richard's own eyes were getting wet now. You're right. And I'm sorry. So deeply sorry. The apartment was quiet except for the sound of Sarah crying. But they weren't the same tears as before. These were different. These were tears of relief, of understanding, of healing. Finally, Sarah took a shaky breath. So, you really think I'm talented? Richard smiled. A real, genuine smile. The best I've seen. Sarah turned to look at Maya. And even through her tears, there was the tiniest hint of a smile. You yelled at a billionaire for me? Maya grinned. Obviously. You're my best friend. Sarah crossed the room and hugged Maya so tight. They stood there holding each other. Maya could feel Sarah shaking. But it wasn't from sadness anymore. It was from relief. From gratitude. From love. When they finally let go, Richard cleared his throat. Sarah, I'd still love to support your career. But only if you want that. And this time, we do it your way. Your pace. Your choices. Sarah thought about it. Wiped her face. I'd like that. But with boundaries this time. Richard nodded immediately. Whatever you need. Then Richard turned to Maya. Thank you. For being honest with me. For caring enough about your friend to confront me. Maya shrugged. Someone had to tell you the truth. Richard's smile was sad but genuine. Most people are too afraid to be honest with people like me. The world needs more people like you. And with that, Richard left. He promised to call Sarah in a few days. To talk about things properly. To do it right this time. Maya closed the door behind him and turned to find Sarah staring at her. I can't believe you did that. Maya laughed. I can't believe it worked. They both started laughing. Real laughter. The kind that makes your stomach hurt. The kind that comes after something hard and scary turns out okay. Sarah grabbed both of Maya's hands. Thank you. For believing in me when I couldn't. Maya squeezed back. Always. That's what best friends do. And then something amazing happened. Sarah walked over to the corner where all her art supplies had been sitting untouched for a week. She picked up a paintbrush. Just held it in her hand for a moment. Feeling the weight of it. Remembering why she loved it. Maya watched her best friend. And she could see it. That light coming back into Sarah's eyes. That confidence returning. That love of art that had been buried under fear and doubt was starting to bloom again. Sarah set up a canvas, dipped her brush in paint, and she started to create. Maya sat on the couch just watching, just being there. Because sometimes the best thing a friend can do is just be present while someone finds themselves again. The apartment was quiet except for the sound of brush on canvas. But it was a good quiet, a peaceful quiet, the kind of quiet that comes after a storm has passed and the sun is starting to shine through the clouds again. Sarah was painting, Maya was smiling, and everything finally was going to be okay. Because that's what real friendship is. It's standing up for each other. It's fighting for each other. It's yelling at billionaires in fancy restaurants if that's what it takes. It's being honest even when it's hard. It's believing in each other when the world makes you doubt yourself. Maya had walked into that restaurant angry and scared, but she'd done it anyway, for Sarah, and in doing that, she'd given her best friend the greatest gift she could give, the truth, and hope, and the knowledge that no matter what happens, she's not alone. Now, before we finish, I want to ask you something. Would you have done what Maya did? Would you have confronted someone powerful to defend your friend? It takes real courage to stand up for the people we love. Drop a comment and let me know what you think. Have you ever had to be brave for a friend? And if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of real friendship, hit that subscribe button. Because stories like this, stories about loyalty and courage and love, these are the stories that matter. Sarah kept painting, Maya kept watching, and somewhere in that tiny apartment, two best friends proved that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is fight for the people you love. Even when it's scary, even when it seems impossible, because that's what true friendship looks like. And that's how a coffee shop worker yelled at a billionaire and changed everything for the better. How would you rate this story from 0 to 10? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more heart-touching stories coming your way soon.